Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Joe's Gunpla Garage. Today we're going to be taking a look at Bandai's latest real grade release, the Akatsuki Gundam Oowashi pack. This kit has been getting a lot of heat online lately, and many see this as a disappointment. Is this really the case? We will find out in this review. The real grade Akatsuki is made from 13 runners, spanning 11 different colors and 271 parts total for the main mobile suit and its weapons. That is quite a bit of parts packed into this 1/144 scale model kit. The assembly of this kit was a fair experience. This kit is plated, and that adds a new complexity to these real grade builds. I assembled this kit while wearing some nitrile gloves to ensure that there was no fingerprints left on the model while I was completing it. In terms of small parts, there are a handful here. The joint on the Oowashi pack for the nose cone is really small. The chin is also incredibly small. There's nothing as small here as the RG crossbone or the cheek vents on the RG Exia, but be mindful that there are some small pieces here. The plating is a neat feature but really makes nearly every aspect of the build a bit more cumbersome. Panel lining, nub removal, and assembly all took longer because of it. Despite Bandai's easy to follow instructions, I found the shoulder armor to be a little tricky and led to a part breaking on my build. This part is extremely small and delicate, and this plated plastic here definitely feels a little more brittle than the plastic that Bandai usually feels. So definitely take some caution while assembling the shoulder armor on this kit. The waist and torso was also a little bit tricky to put together. The ball joint for the lower torso really needs to be pushed hard into the waist section to get it to seat properly. It took a lot of force to get this to seat in right, and the upper waist armor popped off a few times while trying to install the torso to the waist. These steps aren't necessarily hard, but nobody likes breaking parts, and the waist reminded me of a Daban kit rather than a Bandai kit. The rest of this kit went together easily and was what I expected, but my advice to you while building this kit would be to be as gentle as possible with it, and pay attention to the instructions. One of the steps I mentioned that was difficult because of the plating was panel lining. I used Tamiya black liner on this kit both on the frame pieces as well as the plated gold pieces. Cleaning up the panel liner on the plated pieces does take some extra time, as smudging can occur from the cleanup process, and the effect of panel lining these gold pieces is a little subtle for the return of your efforts. It's one I can see the value in, but I definitely could see a lot of builders forgoing panel lining for the majority of this kit and ending up happy with the final product. When you do notice it on the gold, it is a nice addition, especially on the venting of the shoulder, forearm, and leg armors. Just keep in mind that you're going to have to devote more time to cleanup than usual. The seam lines on the Akatsuki aren't bad and can easily be disguised as panel lines. I can't think of many seam lines that are made from this assembly. Bandai did a great job planning the build out to have seam lines able to be hidden as panel lines. However, the seam lines from the molding process are not as good. Like the Destiny Gundam Spec 2, if we take a quick look at the front shin armor, staring right back at us is a seam line created from the molding process. However, because of the plating, this isn't a seam line that we can sand down and smooth out, as this would ruin the plating of this kit and therefore the main reason why this kit is so expensive. This continues on to other body pieces like the upper thigh armor. I'm not trying to be nitpicky, but when the main gimmick of the build is the gold plating, you want it to be as perfect as possible out of the box. I think these parts should have been laid out better to avoid this seam line from the molding process. It's definitely a little disappointing. Thankfully, the color accuracy for this kit is perfect and even a little bit beyond perfect if you ask me. We have 3 different shades of gold here, and they all play wonderfully together to give us a fantastic contrast of this gold color. Another huge bonus for this kit is the eyes are fully color separated. You don't even have to add stickers if you don't want to. No need to sweat placing the eye sticker onto this kit, and makes painting the eyes even easier. This kit does include the standard RG sticker sheet, which I did not use. With this kit being plated, the stickers will stick out on it and look pretty bad. You'll have this nice shiny gold chrome, and then you'll get a random strip of matte color with a decal printed on it for the sticker. For this build, I decided I would wait for Delpy or G Rework to come out with a set of decals for it. I wish Bandai was willing to include waterslide decals with more retail kits, as this is a kit that would absolutely benefit from it. The final thing you'll really have to contend with during assembly is nub marks. This kit does have a lot of parts undergated, which helps immensely. If it wasn't for the undergating, this kit would look terrible with nub marks all over the place. Nub marks completely remove the plating effect that any kit is going to have, so it's important that parts are laid out perfectly during the planning and production process of the kit. That being said, there are still some noticeable areas where you can see nubs despite it being well planned and undergated. For this kit, I used the 2-cut method with Godhand Ultimate Nippers, and for the most part you have to really look for these sections, but the ones that jump out at me the most are the seam line on the shoulder armor, at the top of the seam line of the Oowashi cannons, on the top of the fins of the shin armor, and on the beam saber connections on the side skirts. Mind you, those are just the nubs on the plated areas. The black armor parts on the back of the knee have a nasty large gate on them that really needs to be sanded. The 2-cut method did not work well here. Even when using the 2-cut method, you want to be extra careful you don't take any plating up with you as you make your second or sometimes even third cut on these plated areas. Plated kits really are no joke and need a lot of time and attention to get the best out of them. With the complexity of the build behind us, let's talk articulation. For the articulation of the body, we're going to be doing it with the Oowashi pack removed, just so then you can see what the mobile suit is capable of. Be mindful that with the wings and the Oowashi pack, it is going to limit the rotation of the arm all the way around. But with the Oowashi pack removed, the arm can certainly rotate all the way around 360 degrees. The head is on 2 swivels in the neck and a ball joint in the head. This allows the Akatsuki to look downwards 90 degrees. The other swivel allows the head to move forward a little bit, giving us some chicken movement. The upwards motion is mostly contingent on the ball joint and allows us to look upwards 30 degrees. The head can spin around 360 degrees no problem, and also tilt left and right about 30 degrees in either direction. The torso is on 2 swivels, one in the abdomen and one in the upper chest. This gives us a 30-degree ab crunch, which is respectable. There is a slight left to right lean 15 degrees in either direction. The torso to waist connection is on a ball joint, allowing us to rotate the torso around 360 degrees. The side skirts can open outwards about 60 degrees. The rear skirt can open up about 60 degrees, and any further than that and the rear skirt is liable to pop off. The front skirt can open up only about 50 degrees. Luckily, the skirt is short and doesn't get in the way of the leg articulation. The last little bit of articulation here for the waist and the torso is the rear thruster, allowing it to swing up and down just a little bit. With the skirt opened, we can kick the leg forward about 90 degrees. We can kick out to the side for about a 70-degree split, and we can kick backwards 50 degrees while staying within the confines of the skirt. But if we kick backwards a little bit to the side, we can get nearly a 90-degree kick backwards. There is a swivel on the upper thigh, but this is because the waist connector is on a ball joint. This is the kit's biggest weakness, so I'd caution anyone from moving this joint too much. We'll cover more of this issue down in the posability portion of the review. The knee here is on a really tight double joint, giving us a nice leg compression. The side thruster is on a swivel for some up and down movement. The shin armor is on a swivel as well, also allowing for some up and down movement. The foot is on a swivel in the shin, allowing some front to back movement, and the foot has a swivel running down the center of it for some left and right leaning motion, giving us a decent lean just on the foot itself. The last thing to cover here is the foot. There is a slight toe bend here which can swing downward or upwards a little bit for either kneeling or flying poses. The arms on this kit are on a swivel on the torso, allowing them to swing outward and forward a lot, almost a full 90 degrees outwards from the body. The shoulder swivel on this joint is also able to swing outwards 90 degrees, letting the shoulder armor go vertical and giving us the biggest T-pose and a large reach upwards. The shoulder armor does have a little bit of up and down movement on its own swivel, and there is a neat little open hatch thruster in the shoulder armor itself. The arm can swivel outwards independent of the shoulder swivel that's in the torso, giving us a 45-degree outward reach. The upper bicep is on a swivel, allowing a full 360-degree rotation of the arm. The elbow is on a double joint, giving us a full bicep curl. The wrist is on a slight up and down swivel, which helps us get this full bicep curl. And finally, the hand is on a ball joint, so it can rotate around and swivel all the ways a ball joint can do. The backpack is rather non-complex in its design. There's an open hatch gimmick with the nose cone with some nice detailed bits on the inside. The nose cone is able to swivel up and over, out of the way, revealing the backpack connection for the Akatsuki. The wings can swivel around 360 degrees at the body of the Oowashi pack, and the wings themselves can swivel backwards for a sort of stowed configuration. The wings can also swivel upwards and downwards for a more angled flight type of look. The cannons are on a 3-way swivel, allowing them to swivel down from the Oowashi, with a swivel at the end of the connecting arms, and one final left to right swivel at the end of those connecting arms. The cannons themselves can connect to these arms at a ball joint, allowing these to swivel as well as rotate around left to right to a small degree. Finally, the cannons can open up, revealing some handles for the Akatsuki to hold onto and fire with. These handles can swivel in either direction. The backpack here has some pretty decent range of articulation. The accessories included are 2 closed fist hands, 2 open hands, 1 left hand shooting hand, and 2 open fist hands. There is a shield included, and unfortunately Bandai has us using the advanced MS joint connection for it, so you'll need to have the Akatsuki hold the shield with the open fist hands if you don't want the shield to slouch off to the side. There are 2 beam sabers included here, and they can combine to make a double-bladed beam saber. Last but not least, we have the beam rifle. It's a pretty neat looking rifle, and can even attach the beam saber to it to give the Akatsuki a beam bayonet. I'm sure you've heard by now that the legs on this kit are absolutely atrocious. My first exposure to this phenomenon was on a Gunpla Facebook group. For full transparency, I don't watch other reviews of new kits, so my reviews aren't influenced by someone else. That being said, the hip issue on this kit from the advanced MS joint frame reuse is real. This kit is able to pose standing with the cannons deployed downwards, but any pose that moves the center of gravity forward in this kit is going to split out and topple over. This is a very fragile kit, and Bandai's answer to this fragility was packing in an Action Base 7 stand. Using this Action Base in tandem to the kit is paramount to any form of posing. You can pull off some decently dynamic posing with the Action Base, it's just a shame that this is required even for ground poses. Even certain poses in air suffer from the looseness of the hip, as eventually the leg will droop back downwards. The other Seed real grades may require a stand, but those older advanced MS joints aren't nearly as bad as this one. The added weight of these newer real grades, using more parts in the frame and the body, is far too much strain for this old advanced MS joint frame, and honestly makes the Akatsuki less reliable than even the old real grade Strike or Destiny Gundams. The included stand here really is the saving grace of this kit. It's a huge disappointment that the Akatsuki even needs it for simple poses. Unfortunately, the Akatsuki comes to us after the basically perfect real grade 2.0 Gundam. This kit had big expectations to follow, and unfortunately it fumbled every single one of them. When this kit comes out in the States, it's going to be around $88 US. Now I understand both sides of the coin here. $88 is a lot of money, and the consumer wants something that's going to work out of the box. Bandai is trying to give us the most accurate Akatsuki possible by providing multicolored gold plating, which is not cheap. There are many reasons why the old frame might have been used, and I can only speculate. Maybe it's to save on research and development costs because the kit is already going to be expensive. Maybe it was for the lore accuracy, as the Akatsuki was developed from the original Strike Gundam. Whatever the case may be, the reuse of the advanced MS Joint 3 frame is both literally and figuratively the Achilles heel of this kit. What Bandai really needed to do was go the full distance and give us an entire inner frame. If the Akatsuki used a 2.0 type of inner frame, this frame could have been reused for the Strike or any GAT X frame Gundam. It genuinely baffles me why this was the route they went with the Akatsuki. Even when looking past the inner frame issue, the nubs here are still fairly easy to spot, despite the kit being undergated on a lot of the plated pieces. If you're overzealous with your gate cleaning, you could easily ruin the finish on some of these plated pieces just by removing the nubs. Even some nubs are going to be noticeable no matter what method you use to remove them. We also cannot forget that some of these seam lines from the mold are just here to stay and aren't hidden very well either. This kit isn't all doom and gloom. At the end of the day, you do get a good representation of the Akatsuki with a high degree of detail and contrasting colors. This is arguably the best that the Akatsuki has ever looked in model kit form. The red is even using a high gloss coating, which looks great next to all the gold chrome colors here, and the matte gold pieces were a nice surprise that I didn't expect. It is very hard for me to recommend this kit. If you're a diehard Seed fan, or at the very least a big fan of the Akatsuki Gundam, I could see the value in picking this up. If you're a Seed fan, then chances are you're already planning on putting this on a stand anyways, and thankfully Bandai packed that in with this kit. Like I said before, that is the saving grace with this kit here. This kit is really useless without a stand. If you're wanting to complete your RG collection, then sadly, this would also have to be one to scoop up. For out-of-the-box builders or people who like the design but aren't fully in love with it, I'd have to recommend to skip this kit or wait till it's on sale. This hobby isn't in the pandemic mode anymore, so sales do happen all the time from retailers. It's a shame I had to be as critical as I was about this kit. I really wanted to like it. I was really hoping these floppy videos I saw was someone being edgy for clicks on the internet. I barely articulated this kit for this review, and it's not even able to stand on its own, and we need to rely on the Action Base 7 to do anything with this kit. I hate saying it's worse than the older Seed real grades, but that's sadly the case here. I know that this is going to be a controversial take, but I honestly feel like the real grade Akatsuki was a better candidate for a premium Bandai release rather than a retail release. $88 is a lot of money for a retail real grade release of a kit that really doesn't have a ton of screen time, isn't necessarily a fan favorite worldwide, and has a lot of plating and a lot of old frame reuse. I think people would have been less critical and more receptive to the real grade Akatsuki had this been put on premium Bandai. I feel like if this kit was released on premium Bandai, a lot of builders would feel less obligated to buy it as it's not a numbered release and it's just a sort of optional release. Look at the real grade Phoenix as an example. In any case, it's just a shame that we were all on cloud 9 with the real grade Gundam 2.0 and that this had to be the numbered retail follow-up after it. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this review of the real grade Akatsuki. I apologize for the negative outlook, but I want to be upfront and honest with you all, especially given the price this kit is going to cost. Hopefully I can sing the praises of the next kit we look at on the channel. Thank you all so much for the love and support on these videos. It really does a lot to help the channel grow. I couldn't do this without you all. Until next time, be safe, have fun, and happy building.